you've done enough work in the dimensional setup to where you should, if you have any degree of a not self advance, but we're not all in the same grade. Okay. So some people early, they say, hey, there's something else here. What is that? Others are thicker and heavier. And you go, what's the word self mean to you? I don't know, you read me. They don't have a sense of self. So we have different grades, if I could use that word, of self. So anyway, when you first tap self, and we'll invite it in, for lack of words, we need a language. I like the percentage game, a little bit of self, a faint hint of something. I ask you, what's your sense of self? That's where I was going. What's your first faint sense of self? And you have a sense of something. I'm not saying that's totally it here, but you have a sense of something. Okay, I'd say quite a lot. Did I lose you? Anything to clarify right now?
I don't have anything dramatic along those lines, but I keep, every time you talk about that, I go back to an experience in our workshop years ago where we did something called feathering. If you recall that kind of process, whatever it was. But that's
my workshop?
Yes, down south, when you came down south. Okay. And the experience I had, which has stuck with me forever, is a sense of not wanting anything, of being in that place. And it was very unfamiliar, but absolutely not wanting anything. So I'm just throwing that out, see how that.
And I'm not sure if that was a level of balance in the matter universe, or if that was a first sense of self. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But I say, okay, good. If you get back there again, let's continue and let's go through that. Okay. So let's not name it. A place where I didn't want anything. Wow, how unusual. That's self. No, this is the beginning. It's a percentage game. Was that self, or are you just getting closer and closer? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Well, thank you. Okay. But again, I'm not interested right now in your examples, unless you're dying to tell them. I think we understand what we're talking about, that we've all had little things that were unusual and came from a different place and whatever. I don't know if we have to listen to more. Maybe we do. So jump in and say your story. I'm more interested in the general schematic here, the general sense of things. Open mind. Anybody be totally lost? Anybody? Oh, of course. I'm clearer on it now. Anybody out there?
Well, I really liked the Osensei quote. It just seemed to, we tend to talk about how our inner work affects our outer work. And you and I have had a conversation about this, and to me, that's what that quote says, is the outer work reflects what's going on inside.
Yeah, you see, we're on a continuum. Now, when you've done your first basics, settle a bit, a little better ground, a little better center, whatever, boom, suddenly there's a Robert compared to a weird Bobby. There's a Robert compared to a Bobby. And he moves a bit better, okay? He speaks a little bit better. His presence is a little bit better. So yeah, always some degree of internal manifests external. That pattern hasn't changed. Where we're going for is the internal of self the original self, the soul self, the constant self. Okay, so we don't use the word self in the manifest. Some people do. Oh, myself. So I want to make sure that you have a distinction. The way that we're using self right now, we're referring to the domain of self, the true self, more original self, the self that is pre the Nado lineage. Okay. So again, we need a language, or maybe a certain word we could use to represent that is clearly its word. But we're going to run out of words after a while. So self should be good enough. As long as you know when we talk about self now, these days, we're talking about the inner self, the truer self, the more original self, that self that's there when Bobby dies. Self is there. Been through a lot of bodies. It's still going on. Oh yeah, I used to be a Roman warrior, and then I had a couple of lives as an Indian, and no. Self contains all of that stuff. Am I losing you yet? Not a question in the bunch. You're all right on tune with me. Can you hear me?
A little lost. Trying to hang in there.
Like, where are you? So I can figure out where you got lost.
Oh,
Out for a party and say, I got lost. I say, okay. Is there a gas station there? Is there a 7-Eleven there? A McDonald's? Where are you? Give me some reference. That's all I'm doing.
I think I'm in that early point where you keep reminding people not to stop there. Like where, oh, it's quiet, or
Certain amount of balance. Finer energy balancing. It could be very peaceful, very quiet, very loving, very understanding, very compassionate, but beautiful, great. Last week or sometime, a couple weeks ago, when Tom was saying in his meditation, he reaches this place that he calls home. He really likes it. He recognizes it. It's a much finer level in his space, that he's been to before. He likes that place. Okay? So you're going to run across all kinds of nice places because of the harmony of the manifest. Were you okay?
I feel like there's a paradigm shift somewhere between the nice places along the way and the self that I'm not seeing yet.
Yes. So what I'm trying to give people a heads up on, I know the places are nice, but we should continue the journey. If you have a self that's a little more, I don't have the words, present, demanding, that you go, no, there's still something more. And you won't mind trading that nice place in for a next. Now, the next could be the next circle of things. It'll be the same pattern, but nicer. Home will be homier. Whatever that means. Nice will be nicer. Continue that pattern. Very, very extremely nice. In that real sense, I say, yeah, but you can go on forever with that and you'll miss it. I'm just trying to give you a heads up. A certain amount of balance. If you have a calling by self, whatever the right words are, we haven't established the language yet. If there's a pull from self or a push from self or calling from self, if you take the opportunity to have that balance and use that as a doorway, you trade it all in. You clear the decks. I say, set the stage, clear stage from the self to start to present itself. And then I say to you, I don't expect gangbusters. Any vague sense of something good, bring it all in again. It's a percentage game. Self has a stage to stand more fully on. Any sense of it here? And I continue to.
Sorry.
No, no. Yeah.
I think I'm getting the sense that to just keep going. Like don't arrive at one place and say, okay, oh, I found a quiet place. Hooray, I'm done.
Yeah.
Just to keep looking, keep looking, keep looking.
If they couldn't stop the call, I don't know what words to use now. The call from itself was so strong. He couldn't be happy being the toughest guy in town. There was a call, not there's more. And his call was strong. Mine is pretty strong. Okay. You say, wow, where do you get the endurance to keep doing this nonsense? I have a strong call. If I don't follow it, with the amount of whatever that's there, I'm going to go off into, I'll be weird. I'll go off into crazy land. I got to do this stuff. I have no choice. Okay. So it depends on how strong your calling is. If you don't have any, you won't watch this program. You won't have any feel to watch this program. What the fuck are you talking about? This is bullshit. I'm out of here. No, there is something there. There is something. I always known there was something. Something. That's going to vary person to person. How they get attracted by that, how they recognize it. We each have our own style of approach. I'm a not those style of approach. You're your style of approach, okay? So I'm just trying to say that well, the general approach pattern is the same. Exactly the qualities you bump into or how it begins to show, it will vary a bit. And for this piece of the work, this a domain of self, I'm not totally versed in the variations yet. Okay. That'll unfold and we'll exchange and share. Okay. For example, Susan, are you on?
I did not see her. Let's see. Oh, there she is. Susan, do you have audio?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
When Dusty said something we were playing with this thing of self, and Dusty threw out a word, do you remember? I'd like to report back to you.
Yeah, his word was innocence.
Okay. So I think we were probably at this place where, okay, self is here. What's your sense of self? And he said, ooh, it's strong feeling of innocence. Okay? Yeah?
Mhm.
And I like what you said.
Yeah.
Susan said, ooh, I wonder if that's not a quality emanating from self. That, so far so good. Another possible example, Gina. Come on, where is it? Oh, it's feeling, we're talking about the self here, it's feeling like it has something to do with power so far. So then my question becomes, and we'll pick it up with practice. I'll figure all this out soon. This is self here, okay, this is self, core of self. That the emanation, self has all the qualities at a much better level than in your human body condition, okay? So self is closer to the more perfect of those qualities, the pure of those qualities. So Dusty picked up, Susan, give me the word again.
Innocence.
Innocence. So maybe there's a radiation of innocence as one of the main qualities from his self. Gina said, boy, when I call up self, I don't know about self, but I feel this power. That's something powerful is nearby. Oh, she's picking up power as a quality from self. So I'm surmising maybe some people don't get the first sense of self, but they feel the quality emanations, making up words here, the quality emanations from self. Self is a great holder of your qualities. Does that make any sense? You sort of almost follow that, Gina? Okay. So if you bump into that, that's where I would continue. I would enjoy the feeling. Okay, it feels like a ray of power. I'll just hang out here. Feel that ray, absorb that ray. And then you can track that ray back to the source, which is self. It can't be too far away. It's right here someplace. Okay, so just accept it. I'm not saying power itself. I'm saying it's one of the emanations or qualities of yourself. So we keep backtracking it to more of the fuller middle of it, presence of it. Well, sort of, kind of, maybe. So that's my guess, because of what Dusty said and what Susan said back to him, which I thought was good retort to his thing. And that was a quick sense I had when Gina said, I just have to play with self, and I don't know about self, but I feel some power here someplace. I say, I wonder. Okay. So do some people pick up the qualities that self emanates first before they pick up, I pick up a little bit more of the actual field of self. But they may pick up the radiations of a certain quality first, and then they'll get more of the fuller of the self experience of itself. Again, we have to create a language here so we can talk. Back to Tom. So Tom meditates. He gets to a beautiful place at home. Oh my God, I'm home. Okay. Not saying that's wrong. I say, oh, great. Well, Sensei, by the way, like the word soak. File that word in. Soak in it. Soak in it. Now, if you're sharp, eventually you'll say, very nice. Now, trading all of this in, what's next? And it'll either be a finer home, if you continue being, like I just said, and a finer home, and a more comfortable home, and you're going dimensional. But I'm getting bored with staying in the manifest going dimensional. Some of you are bored. It's nice, it's fun, you can work it, yes, it's great, but some of you are being pushed, called by self, saying, come on, yes, that's nice, but come on. So I'm saying, okay, so let's say Tom didn't catch it with this home thing. He's so happy being home. He stopped there. That's okay. Enjoy the hell out of it. That's okay. But then he said, be sharp. I keep my ears open. When Tom speaks, I listen. He said, but in the garden, when he's doing yard work or garden work, he establishes his balance, okay? And he notices someplace in there that self is showing a little clearer. Did you not say that, Tom? Yeah. I can't hear them.
He's on mute.
You're muted, Tom.
Okay. Yeah, it was a realization of, wasn't me nourishing the plants and the soil, it was a larger self that was engaging this nourishment. More larger, more universal nourishment of me, the soil, the plants. It was, that was a finer place, I would call, a finer place of being.
I don't know, but this self, as we get better tapping it, and it's more present, it radiates. Sensei doesn't use that word, I use that word. That word. Emanate. He likes emanation.
Mhm.
And I don't know the difference. I've been hanging with these words for a while. I say radiate. Emanate. Being the earlier source, emanates. So emanates through your energy body, emanates through your physical body, emanate your domain of garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you said was perfect, beautiful. I love it. This thing, I'm nurturing the plants. And this thing jumped in and said, no, wait a minute. I'm here. I am self. I nurture you, and you go ahead and naturally nurture the plants.
Yeah.
And you nurture.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
Ah,
The other thing, Sensei, that happens, well, and when that happened, it wasn't so much work. Sure, there was work in the garden, but there was no major effort or it just happened. It occurred. The self occurred. It appeared. It wasn't I wouldn't call it work. Let's put it that way. I'd call it an eminence and a happening. When I'm in this familiar space or place,
very well.
it's more of a connection with this deeper understanding of this inner self, the vastness of it. I think I'm at home with the vastness of it, the potentiality of it. The potentiality is nourishing. Just the potential of this inner space. One of my favorite commercials, and I don't watch a whole lot of TV, but there are these two kids and they're watching on the computer, and this person says, hey, the universe is a vast place full of wonder and experience, explore, but did you know your brain, or I equate it to the self, is much more vast than the mysteries of the universe? And the kids kind of go, pow. I mean, it just gave them the license to explore their inner self like you would explore any vast space and be at home in that vastness, in that void, in that familiarity. So anyway, that's my.
Thank you, John. Yeah, it's very personal. This is not going to be some stranger. This is going to be your self. Okay?
Right.
But it's a self Bobby may not know about. I run everything. I do everything. Yes, you have to be traded in, better character, you have to trade it in. And self, the more original self. It's me self, it's yourself. Okay? Don't be afraid of yourself.
Sensei, Sean here. Can you hear me? Yeah. So when you said me self, yourself, it struck me as like, well, part of this is like getting a sense of appreciation and what was I gonna say? When you humility and like less self, less not self, less me, and less you, and more about a sort of a we universal thing.
If Bobby doesn't trade in, there can't be a Robert. If Robert doesn't trade in, there can't be a Nato. If the whole shebang doesn't trade in, there can't be the fullness, aliveness, presence of self.
And where I get hung up, where I have an issue, I think, is not sensing the strata, the thresholds that occur, and like soaking in that, and then being able to go on to the next, but just having that sense of strata.
I don't know, the simple basic, maybe I'm missing something. The simple basics are a balance.
Yeah.
If you're listening to vibration style, there'll be kind of a pleasant hum that feels balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Something that represents balance is a potential gateway.
And then, okay, so you're there and you hang out for how long? Like,
Bobby has to feel himself as Bobby.
Yep.
Breathe himself. I am Bobby. Recognize Bobby's energy. Experience
Yep.
him. Then he trades in
Okay.
down
Okay.
hard,
Yep. Yep.
whatever your form is. And
Yep.
and next is the next dimension. Robert starts to stand there again. It's a percentage game. I don't have 100% Robert yet, but I got somebody. Oh, who's a whoa, and I feel him first before I
Yep.
think about
Yep.
experiences himself. Robert then knows his own philosophy viewpoint. There has to be a trade in.
So what that's very clear. Like just the other night when you demonstrated a very simple Tenkan, and I was floored. I just felt like there's that soaking in that and a sense of presence that is that part of the manifest of soul, which is a weight, a gravitas, a whatever you want to call it, a depth.
A lot of people are afraid in meditation type things to die. No, that's part of the game. Bobby dies, Robert's there.
Yep.
And then all along the way, I don't mind dying because then it's a continuation.
Yep.
In the manifest universe setup, whatever Nado's name is at that level. When you trade all in a certain way, he's dying, but he's dying to the self that's there, that is original, that pervades through the Nado lineage. And it's as Tom was saying, he feels everything out there. It's a nice day.
Yeah.
Okay, moving. Again, don't want to lose you people too far because I want to continue along this line of self. Where the hell are we? Where are you? You got a general drift of underlying the manifest universe is equal to it in relationship to it, what's the big word again? Domain of self. That's what we call the white paper. Okay. So if he trades in here, I've got a certain amount of white paper if he shows early. Okay. As he continues to develop himself, self will expand on itself, become more aware of its aliveness, more aware of how it fits in. So, okay, so what? Careful, one trick here. If you notice when I played one time with self, and I think we were doing the chants to represent the balance. We were doing the balance of these things with the Yayi Mami or whatever we were doing. And I said, okay, let's say this is trading in downtime, whatever form, words that you use, and stage is clear. Here is self in the early stages, okay? And I wanted to give you a heads up, so I said, it's feeling its own aliveness. Self has its own aliveness. Okay? You probably didn't catch it, but I emphasized it. Why I'm doing that is there's a tendency since the dawn of time to major in the awareness of and not enough with the counterpart, the other part of it, which is the experience of itself. Experiencing self says, experiencing myself, I am aware of myself, I am experiencing myself. It's not two pieces, it's one piece, but within that, those two statements are going on. I don't know how to say that well. But we historically majored in awareness and not enough in the experience. So I'm trying to give you a heads up to try to get the self to show with some aliveness. We don't lose the awareness about it, but to have the aliveness, a sense of that. Alive, it'll be aware, more alive kind of thing. I don't want to continue this aware, 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 aware. Because in the realm, we're also going to have to do, as self, do some lineup, I don't know the word, practices, continuation of development. We have a little work to do in that realm, much easier than the physical realm and stuff, but still some work to be done. To be a, I don't know, a truer self, a more alive self. Don't have the words down. You got the words as we go along. Oh, are we okay? Am I losing too much?
Sensei, that sense of aliveness is also a sense of calling, right? Right? I mean, after a while, it becomes a sense of calling.
Sense of calling.
Possibly. Possibly could be calling with all of the stuff that it naturally emanate. That could be part of the call.
Yep. Yep.
But unless you're experiencing the calling, following the calling, just another word is not going to do us anything. So I'm trying to cut you off on words here. Just that. Somebody.
Sensei, how are you doing?
Oh,
Going to piggyback off that. Let's say I'm sure you've heard somebody going through life and suddenly they have an epiphany or whatever that case, and they realize they should be going down this path, or maybe they are going through a career and they realize it's not for them, and they realize, hey, I'm supposed to be doing this thing or that. Would you say that's like they are trading in and then going to a new level of themselves? Is that the case, or is that something else entirely?
they're at. I don't know what level they're at. So maybe self gave them the nudge. Maybe it was just a realization, oh, I don't want to be a plumber. I should be a cop or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, what got triggered in there, feeling themselves as a plumber, thinking, oh, this is too easy for me. I want to do a desk job.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm more comfortable doing a desk job. Yes. I don't know what level they're at. So I can't say that was self-nudge. Also in the manifest world, we have sort of balanced common sense, a balanced, better viewpoint of things.
Mm-hmm.
If I were more balanced in my world, I wouldn't have chosen Aikido for an occupation. I would have chosen paid money. Anyway, joke, sort of.
Well, lucky for us.
Anyway, somebody, where are we? I don't want to lose you people out there.
Well, I have a question about the relationship of self to the universe. I think you've talked about this before, but since we're here.
Are you designating a different set here or what?
No, so just someone said earlier that self, it was a quote, but that self was vaster than the universe. And I'm wondering, is self
something? There is some kind of original structure, but you're getting past my pay grade. The original unnameable in setting up used its unnameable size for the setup. Well, then we're in that size. So you're getting past my pay grade there. And I don't want to get, and how many angels fit on the head of a pin? Stop straight there. Won't do you any good.
Okay, good enough.
Mm-hmm.
We're open mic. If anyone has a question, comment.
This is Justin in Miami. Sensei, hi, Sensei, everybody. Quick question. As we are balancing and refining our sense of person and character in the manifest, it's been noted that some people are more center people and some people are more circle people. Is it a similar approach when noticing presence of self and inviting more and more of that presence to be a more center inviting type person or a more circled inviting type person when making a stage for self?
You'll know it when it happens.
Mm.
I'm practicing talking to self. People, bear with me, to get a sense of how things work in that domain. Okay, and some of the selves kind of over this way. Now and then I get a self that lines up better. They're like more present. Okay. So one thing I'm trying to do, I'm running a class. I got there, but I'm running a class. Oh, by the way, could you feel your own aliveness? I know you're aware. I get that feeling you're aware. But could you feel more your aliveness? Because I'm talking to selves who are related to a person. Okay. Because if they can feel themselves, if they're feeling plus their awareness plus their feeling, I think they'll position better with their person. Okay. And I think if they position better, it'll be like Tom said, when it positions better, whatever he said, he feels fed, he feeds the garden. It's just a nice, beautiful continuum with this core self, this core self being the radiating wow that enhances the shit out of whoever the person character is there and the world they're in. Did I say it right? Justin? Yeah? Okay. Again, the word's going to be a bit bitchy for a while. We'll do the best we can to create a dialogue capability here. So do remember, I'm going to practice certain amount of basic balance, okay? That doesn't mean 4 hours of meditating. I mean, come on, it's too close. Nothing wrong with that, but come on, it's too close. Okay, quick story. My meditations were 1 hour. Okay. 1 hour. One day I was short on time. I had an appointment or dental or something. And I said, oh shit, I only got a half an hour, but I want to meditate. So, okay. And I got, let's call it like Tom's home place. Let's say that was my home. Oh, great. And it used to take me an hour to get there. But this day I only had a half an hour. And suddenly in a half an hour, I'm there at that home place. And I said, what the hell just happened? Because, it took me an hour. So I said, I got to check that out. So next days I went back at it. And I said, okay, now I only got 20 minutes. Boom, same thing happened. I got to that home place in 20 minutes instead of a half hour, instead of an hour. And I think I even pushed it tighter and tighter. Whoa, it's closer than we think. We screw around doing our hand, whatever we do. And it's more here, more now. Not to say think your way through it, but some faster way of passing through all of these. Passing through these. Oh, Sensei was fast. He could go from this old man to bing. Watch out. This thing was radiating, emanating. So I want to pick up the pace. We're running out of time, you white-haired people. I want to pick up the pace. Okay? Oh. I don't want to spend a lifetime ending up just being a robber instead of a bobby. I mean, it's better than nothing, but come on. Is that it? Come on. You know better than that. You know there's more than that. You know you're capable. You have a sense that you're more than that. You always have. Come on, let's see how to pick up the pace properly. Okay, Sensei was fast. Eating up time. Somebody, help me along here.
It's Mike from New Zealand.
Mike.
Yeah, the self is what I experience, what I sense is that the self is limitless. And in fact, trying to describe it with the everyday language that we use is
Okay, hold it right there.
inadequate.
Stop for a second. Now be careful on that first presence of self. Be careful of limitless, perfect. It's got to develop itself. There's work to be done yet. So watch out for, oh, it's self. It's total. That's it. No, there's I'm even helping people, guiding selves to align better, to pick up their aliveness better, because they don't have it yet. They're not advanced self. So I'm sorry, there's a radiation in the realm.
Emanation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Emanation.
Gradation.
Yeah.
Stepwise better.
What to do yet?
Stepwise.
But it'd be easier work because it's in that domain, and ought to be more fun, not as thick and shitty as it can be here. But don't think that you get a flavor of it that it's wow. I wouldn't go there that fast.
That's not quite what I'm meaning. Limitless is infinite, and therefore, as you say, there's always going to be more exploration. You've got further to go. It's not that you suddenly found this place that is.
All I'm saying is don't use those words too soon. Is all I'm saying. Yes, but
yeah.
Wait, no, let's get something right here. Let's get whatever. Let's get the first flavor of it. Technically, you're correct, but if you go into that limitless, you're sure as shit going to become a major awarer, and you're going to miss the lineup of what we have to do, how we have to line up as self in the domain of self. So I just don't want you to get lost. As if you're entering there, I don't want you to rush out too far. We'll lose you a certain way.
Yes, understood. And for me, one of the consequences of that limitless idea is that I find it quite scary, actually, to access that more fully, because it is unknown, basically.
I don't want to tell Robert this endless thing. Robert can't cope with that. Hell, Robert can't even cope with the concept of being a not-do. I felt so much superior to Robert. I used to panic going from Bobby to Robert because I could sense Robert was much more. Can I be more? I don't know if I can be more. So of course you're going to be afraid of something bigger until you are that thing that is actually bigger experiencing itself. To talk about that, don't scare yourself to death. You don't tell a 5-year-old son, one day I'm psychic, one day you're going to be a surgeon, and you're going to reach your hand into people's bodies and pull out their heart. You don't tell a 5-year-old that. He can't cope. Even if you're psychic and you know he's going to be a surgeon, you don't tell a 5-year-old how it's going to work. Zero. Anyway, I hope you followed that.
I did.
Okay. Signs for me. Diane from Florida. Diane, you on? If you're not, maybe I won't read it. Diane?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, what got my attention? She's repeating. You remember last time we did letters? I remember that. 23 years as a workshop leader. I realized I have actually stepped out of the whole role of teacher, okay? Which I've had for the most, I think, 50 years, even before the intimacy was previously major for a lot of years. I led classes in massage, meditation, energy awareness, Aikido, Tai Chi, even drumming, and probably some others that I don't read. I don't think so, but that familiar teacher character isn't in play right now. Oh, okay. yes, but activate. My predominant feeling this summer is one of curiosity. What's next? Okay. I seem to be giving the energy time to create a new character. Okay. Now, we have to be a little careful how we use the word. Now, if she's staying in this realm, getting finer dimensional level and creating a character. So just to say, we're going to enter a different realm here, whole different piece. Diane, you got what I'm trying to say there? And I know if you did a finer, you could do a finer level of couples workshop. Maybe it's couples workshops with, I don't know, hands-on or something. And it wouldn't satisfy you. You'd be bored a month later or something. This isn't it. I think what she's saying is, I wonder if at some point I, of herself, should point out a direction. Or maybe the self has a direction. Ta-da! It wants to point me in. Ta-da! No. Now, and will it let me know? Now, what we're trying to do is not stay in this realm, hoping this self that exists, let's say on the other side of that wall, is going to tell me not know what to do. Yeah, we pick that up now and then. We all have the stories there. But I would like to activate, bring into play, we need a language, for self itself to be so alive with itself, present with itself, that clarity of direction. One way I picked up self the other day, which is cuter than hell, was as if it's the main steering thing. And it steers Bobby and his world around. It was very core, like a big steering wheel. I thought that was cuter than hell. Instead of, oh, great self, tell me what to do, because I'm Bobby and I'm a little confused. Yeah, we've done it that way, the best we could do. But the self is your self. Is that Wednesday next to the ninth there? Yeah. Occasionally I get glimpses of possibilities. Again, I just don't want to feel the whisk through anymore. We've all had experiences of a whisk through. And those of you who almost died with your motorcycle had a bigger whisk through. But I'm tired of whisk through. Oh, Sensei didn't whisk through. Boom, when he stood there, that was the core. And everything that radiated through this old man into the world he was in was that. Okay? No whisk throughs. We want to move along. But again, and here she gets some good clues. It feels appropriate to give myself time to get used to not being a workshop leader, not being a teacher, sinking into not being anything in particular. You feel this? Yes. I'm trading it in. Not is a downtime word for me. Not being that. It's okay. I was good at it. Yay. Not being it anymore. It's a downtime trade in. Now, I don't want to trade into another better dimension. She doesn't either. I know her. Okay. I want to trade in for the self that's there. All signs are there for self. Okay. They've been there for a long time, but now we're really pulling it out. Okay. That's the call. Okay. Remember when you said back in the old days when we were doing partner sitting and we were going to kind of pass through another person, that was sort of the beginning of hooking in with another self. You took words then, I didn't expect that degree, but that's where we were heading. And you were surprised with the partner you had, how deep into him you were getting. deep into their psyche, deep into their, I don't know, but you were deep. It shocked you how deep you're able to go into that person. Yeah, one more little bit and it's self there. You can start to dialogue with other self. We've been practicing lately. And because you've had so much practice with couples and hanging out to some degree in a form like that, you're trying to go, baby. Yeah. So that's my suggestion. Self is getting anxious. Go for it. Anyway, using of time. TJ, you got anything intelligent for us? Help me.
Okay, Sensei, a couple of things that that occur to me, and I really appreciate this exchange, this dialogue. The forum that you're creating is, I think, is really useful as a way of exploring what you're calling self and what we are calling self. A couple of things that I think might be useful because it's confusing in language, and language can reveal, but it can also conceal. And we were talking about in the theme today of the manifest and the hidden. And in some ways, that is like what is personal, this personal being, and the transpersonal nature, which is the self. So the thing that we really want to, I think, emphasize is that self is here right now. It's not, you don't have to create that, but you did talk about awareness and that how awareness can open into kind of spacing out. And I think that's true. That's been my experience in working with meditators. So I think that it's also important in this to understand the thing that is called the awareness of awareness. And please forgive me because I know this is contradictory language, but I would ask us to consider what this is. Awareness of awareness is not awareness. So I know that's a paradox, but it is the presence of that ground of being. It's the essence of that, what you often refer to as original self. And that's what informs, in my understanding, my experience, what informs the sense of self that can be developed. I think in a certain way, the old school way of referring to that as a soul is also useful. So I've said a couple of things, and I hope that is clarifying rather than more confusing. So.
A quick reminder for people, we left the words open for self. We call it true self, original self, the purest of self, the self that is after all your bobbies die. Self is potentially there for you, right?
True nature, yes.
Whatever word makes you comfortable. Soul, okay. But unless you've been brought up Christian and have a weird slant on it, then maybe you might have to be careful there. Because the words, certain words are like hard to use because people have an idea, they know what it is, or and anyway, so we have to always create our own language here in the domain of self. Okay, but I like what he started with. I was trying to intercept him there to have him repeat it. That in his work with all the students that he has in meditation and all of that, realizes a lot of them go heavily into just awareness of, and
it happens. Yes, it happens.
Not a new problem. So, trying to give you a heads up. Self, one trick might work. I'm having fun with it. Is self experiencing its own aliveness. You don't lose any awareness over that. You'll get aware, but again, it's experiencing its own aliveness. One thing is if we get the self if we get a proper alignment, what the word? Well, Sensei was heavy duty on the word in this level, not Aikido experience.
Mhm. Mhm.
But in this area, positioning, proper positioning. We're gonna be calling the self in, and I would like it to position. I'm running into again in that domain, a lot of hovers.
Mhm.
They're close to their person, they're hovering over their person. But for what we want to do, we want the self alive, present, for lack of words, in the middle of, for lack of words, being the core of the person and his world, her world. Okay. Very important. We'll be able to develop much better.
Yeah, that's also why it's so important to do the trade-in, to trade in the sense of the person of that level, the way that you speak about it, Bobby Robert Nadeau Sensei. Without the trade-in, you don't have the real opportunity to feel that next greater potential. I think that's what Mike as well was kind of pointing to in his language. So the trade-in aspect is quite important. We've done it with you in numerous ways, but the 1x2x to the 1x to the 2x to the 3x is just another way of saying Bob Robert Nadeau Sensei.
Pattern.
Pattern. It's a pattern of realization of not, you can't, this self cannot appropriate the greater self. The smaller cannot grab the larger, but it can open to it, and that's kind of the beauty of it in that way.
Did you say that this knowing about it is limited?
Well, no question.
You guys didn't drift good enough. Now, practice.
Yeah, practice. Yeah, that's right. That's practice.
You're knowing about it and talking about it and
endlessly.
Nothing will happen. You're being intellectual.
Man, a scholar, then, you know.
Art, and it's all bullshit.
Yeah, and there may be some value for some personality types to do that, to do a little bit of that work, to investigate, because it opens their particular expression, opens in that way. So we're not dissing that, I don't think. But as an ontology, as a way of being all the time, no, you know, it doesn't go anywhere. It just opens to more, you know, more finer and finer, great, but at a certain point, that's it's unsatisfying. You're not really connecting with your own source.
If you bump into a leader, mentor, guru, you should spot that you're overdoing that and be on it. Yeah.
True that. Yeah.
We're going to be finishing up here. Anything that's going to nag at you all night and clarify, hopefully, in a moment.
Sensei, this is Tom. I really enjoyed what Tija was sharing because it illustrates the nature of self. That self is not an unnatural event. The manifestation or experience of self is not something unnatural. It's quite on the opposite. It is of the most manifest natural event that we would experience in our lives when it occurs. And so it has this implicit nature, and sometimes just letting self be self is the hardest thing to do. And you know, sometimes we would say to ourselves, just be yourself. It's a common thing, but there's a lot there when we mutter to ourselves, just be yourself. You can do this. Just be yourself. And this reinforces the actual true nature of our relationship with self in that calming, centered space and place.
Yeah, I had a thing about the possibilities eventually of more beings being an actual self. How much better that can be, the communication between self, the understanding of how things work. I think we're expecting in the first physical human level world, what is wars and horrible things, we hate each other, we got to fix this. You're going to be hard pressed at that level. I mean, wars have been going on for how many years now? 5,000? 5,000 years of whatever, of historical notes about wars, probably longer than that. That doesn't count the cavemen who were throwing rocks at each other. But the self-to-self level, ooh, that's pretty fancy. If more beings, more of us could get that thing activating more, ooh, a lot of possibilities there. I can't even think how many possibilities. Susan and I are working on some cases, and very interesting, but it must be, of course, unlimited potential. When the core of self and its radiations, that was a big word, whatever the word is, and the qualities that are there, whichever grouping, and the qualities that naturally emanate, and we can exchange with others in the self realm. I always get some kind of personal as self improvement when I hang out with another self. That always in finishing, I check, what did I get out of that self? What did I get out of that? And I'm usually enhanced somehow. Even if I, anyway, so for me and Susan running around here doing this work, we always finish up after working with the self, that we double check what we got out of the self. What we got out of that is always an enhancement of some kind of myself. So the self sharing with other selves really begins to make more sense. Anyway, a lot of possibilities here. What Sensei tried to show you, when self is present, how superior things that look like magic to us were like, how it works. Who is this guy? How can he do those things? All he was trying to tell you was when self is there, then everything else around it, energy body, physical body, the world you're in, are all affected. Great story when old Sensei died, the vibe in the dojo changed. A lot of nice guys were suddenly 3 days later being idiots. Guys who thought were pretty cool turned out to be racist. It took a few days of old Sensei's self vibing there, not being there. And they were left on their own, and their true colors came out. But he didn't want to hang out there past his time and carry these people. He had other places to go and things to do. And blah, blah, blah. We finishing up? There's no comments.
I think we are finishing up. Last chance, going once.
And next week, clarifying the clarification.
Oh, nice. Describing the ineffable.
Describing the indescribable. Thank you so much. I think we're wrapped.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you so much, Sensei. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you.
Thank you,
And don't
Sensei.
you leave us.
Arigato.
Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you, Sensei.
Great session. Thanks, Sensei.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Donations are welcome. And everybody left, so I guess I should have started that a couple seconds earlier. Take care.
Dan.